Hey guys, it's John with ReelBlue Custom Rods, and today I am going to show you guys how to do an install on a complete handle system like the one by American Tackle that I did a box opening or product review on, and you can see that you can watch that video here in the upper right hand corner of your screen. So what I want to do again is show you guys how to install this complete handle system. And the first thing that you want to make sure you do, two things you want to make sure you do. The first thing, of course, is you want to find the spine to the rod. And if you don't know how to find the spine to a rod, you can watch this video here again in the upper right hand corner. And then the next thing you want to do is you want to go ahead and already lay out your guides and where they're going to be at. And if you've never laid out your guides before, or you're unsure about how to lay out your guides, there's a lot of different resources out there on how to come up with your guide spacing. But you could also watch this video up here in the right hand corner on how to do your guide spacing for some casting rods. And because this rod that I'm building on, working on today actually is going to be a casting rod. So the one thing I do is this line here represents the spine for me on the rod. So I will be laying all my guides on the top of this line, because again, it is a casting setup. And then these little other white tick marks are where my guides are going to be at. And this tick mark here is actually my last guide. And then this tick mark here is actually the center of where I want my reel seat to be at. So what I want to do is go ahead and get out my reel seat. I'm going to take these off so they don't fly around. But like this, I just like to, a casting setup, place my reel seat probably approximately center on this line. And I've measured that distance from the upper guide. So for me, that is going to be, I wanted to go about 18.5 inches on this one. If my memory serves me correctly, about 18 inches. So this will be really the center of where my reel seat will sit at. And then I will build the handle the rest of the way down on the bottom. Now, the other thing that I need to take into consideration here is I have a long insert. Again, this is a carbon 3K matte insert. And then I also have what I'll call my handles that will come underneath the casting reel seat, like that. And then I have another one that will be down at the end of the rod. How do I know which one goes at the bottom of the rod? Right here. The one that has the small AT for American Tackle, this is your butt, if you will. And this goes all the way down, of course, down at the end. Then on the inside, you have your, your placed reamer. So you just got to ream that out a little bit. Your arbor. So you just ream that out a little bit and it'll slide down over your rod. But what I like to do is figure out the length that I'm going to do this. So again, I've got my reel seat. I know I want my reel seat to be there. I know I'm going to have this handle piece, but this long insert I'm going to have to cut to make sure that it will allow me to use all the parts and the components of this complete handle system. And so the way I like to do that is just, again, lay out where I have my things, my reel seat. This will be my handle. And then if I slide all of this down, you can see that this insert is basically sticking out farther than the blank bottom. And then of course I'm going to have that portion there. So I need to figure out, how much of this insert, if you will, that I want to cut off, because it's going to have to fit in between, you know, over the blank, but inside the rear handle on the reel seat, and of course on the butt back here in the back. It can't go all the way to the end. So I want to do a rough measure, figure out where I want to be at, and then make that cut. And for me, that cut is going to be right here. So I will make a cut on this insert, and that will allow me to have that portion sit in. And then what I will do is I'll have about 1.5 inches. So once I make that cut, this reel seat will stop at about 1.5 inches right there. So once I've had that all measured out, the next thing that I like to do, and this just kind of keeps me honest, makes it a little simple. But what I like to do is, since I know I'm making a cut here, then what I like to do is take a piece of tape, put it on the side that I'm going to keep, and then just wrap the tape around. Just like that. All right, and then what this does is this helps me ensure that I make a straight cut with my saw. And I keep it really simple. I just have a very small little hacksaw that I have. And then I'll just put this over my trash can, and I'll make slow, steady cuts right on that line. And then it'll have a nice clean cut. So let's go ahead and get that cut. Okay, so now that I've made the cut, you guys can see, you know, I made right along that tape, and I got a little burr that came off that, and that's okay. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to go ahead and keep this in case I need it for something else in the future, so I'll set that aside. And then what I like to do is I'll come back and peel the tape off. And then I like to take my green pad and just rotate it. And that'll just help clean that up a little bit, take off any sharp burrs that I have. And that's okay that I scuffed that up down here on the bottom, because that's going to be covered by the butt handle, if you will. Okay, so now what I want to do, just set these aside. So now what I want to do, as I told you, I am going to keep this, I'm going to push this insert all the way down to about 1.5 inches to the bottom. So that is about right there. And then what I want to do next is I want to go ahead and build some arbors for that. So I want to mark that's at the bottom. And then if I slide this down here, this is going to be the top. So I know where I want to put my tape arbors at. So I'm just going to place 3 pieces of tape initially. And I've also already scuffed this up, the surface of this blank, with my 3M pad, just to make sure I've got a really good surface to receive that. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and build up these arbors. Okay, so I started down here at the bottom. I have my first arbor put on. I'll go ahead and slide that insert over. I have a nice tight fit. Nice tight fit, so I'll back that off. And then I will do the second one. All right, got a good snug fit. Now what I want to do is back off and do the third one. All right, and I have the third one on there. So we got those all nice and set up. Now I'll go ahead and get my epoxy. So I have my part A. Now I have my part B. And we'll mix these up for a couple minutes. So while I'm mixing up my paste here, my 2-part paste, again, these measurements that I'm showing you are what I want for this rod that I'm building. The key takeaway here really is making sure you kind of do a dry fit when it comes to a complete handle system. Even when you're, even if you don't have a complete handle system and you have an aluminum reel seat, you have a carbon rear handle and an EVA foam forend, like you should still do a dry fit, make sure everything lines up where you want it at. You have your spacing from your reel seat to your first guide all correct and all that good stuff. So again, my measurements will be different than what measurements you have. But the important point here is to make sure you do your measurements and make sure it's going to lay out the way you want it to lay out. All right, so now that I have this paste mixed up, I'm going to go ahead and start to add it to the blank. And I'll start here first at this end and then kind of work towards the butt of the rod. I like to make sure I get that paste all up next to the edges of the tape. And remember, when it comes to tape arbors, the idea here is the tape arbor is there to support and reinforce whatever part you're adding. In this case, the insert or or if it's a reel seat, that's what it's there for. But you want to remember the golden rule really is to have as much surface contact between the 2 parts you're putting together with your pro paste. So again, that's why I'm only using 3 arbors here and I'm not using like 5 or 6, right? I want as much surface area of the blank to be in contact with the insert, and the paste. So I'm going to just stop right here as far as putting my paste on. And then what I want to do is I'm going to come down here and I'm going to start to slide and just spin this around. And then I like to use my popsicle stick and just kind of move the paste in front a little bit. And then just spin it around. You can hear the air pop out of there. And the reason why I do this and I make sure I move this paste forward is I want to make sure I can fill that as much of that cavity between the blank and the insert with paste. And you can just back it off a little bit, spin it around. All right. And keep working. And as you see, I just periodically move this paste forward. All right, then I'm going to stop, pick up the rest of this paste. I'm going to go to the tape portion. All right, then move that Pro paste forward. All right. Almost getting down to the end. All right. Then what I'll do is go ahead and take and knock off the rest of this paste. Just set that down for a moment. And then what I like to do is just come back with some isopropyl alcohol. Make sure we take all of that off. And then what I want to do, so I'm going to come back and make another measurement, because I want to ensure that I'm at about 1.5 inches. Like that. So I know I'm where I want to be at. That part looks good there. I want to come down here and make sure. Yeah, see, I got a little bit of paste there. I want to clean that up. And then that's it. Now what I'll do is I'll go ahead and I will set this part aside, and I'm going to go ahead and let this dry completely and make sure I've got a good cure on it before I move forward with the next step of adding the reel seat. All right, so now that this insert back here is dried, my next step is adding the reel seat. And so what I want to do when I'm adding the reel seat is I want to make sure that I've got everything lined up to fit properly. So, because in reality, if my reel seat is going to go here, I need the back end of my handle to come in back here, right? And you can see that's, you can see that that extends over quite a bit, and that's okay. The only thing I got to be cautious about is this portion on the inside, right? So what I like to do is lay this out. And I think that's where I'm going to go ahead and have this at. Which will be 1.5 inches from here. So I'm just making a mark. For 1.5 inches where I want the bottom of my reel seat to stop at. And that's going to give me enough room for this arbor, for me to bore out the arbor or to ream it out, and for it to slide down and fit, because remember, my arbor at some point will bump into this insert portion. So let's go ahead and ream out the arbor. Okay, so the next thing that I want to do before I go ahead and slide this portion of the back handle on, I want to go ahead, I know that my reel seat is going to stop here, so I'll have to slide this down all the way to here. I've reamed out the back portion. So now what I want to do is I'm going to liberally apply some 2-part paste. starting right here at this line. And I'm going to be generous with it. You know, I'm going to slide that back portion over it. It'll be tight when it goes down. But what else it will do is when it slides over, any of this extra, that arbor that's inside there, any of this extra paste is going to push it all the way down, fill out any little bit of gap I have left here between the blank and the insert, and it will push that down over the insert to help make sure I got a good closure on there. So I'm just going ahead and add all of this here. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead, remember, I'm going to slide this over from the tip top end of the rod, and I'm going to slide it all the way down over. Again, I've already reamed this out. Actually, I'm going to spread this back a little bit because I want to make sure I get it underneath before it starts getting too tight. And I'll clean all this up. But it's still going to push all this paste down. Again, why I'm doing this is I want that arbor where I've reamed it out, I want it to actually go over the paste. I want it to get underneath there really good. But as I slide it down, it will go over that. And I just start spinning it around. There's my first mark. And then you can slowly start to see my second mark, which is right there. And that's where I want that reel seat to stop. I'm going to back that up just a tiny bit. All right. And then the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take this trim band or winding check, if you will, trim ring / winding check, slide it over the butt end. And then I'm going to come down, and what I want to do is I'm going to apply some 2-part paste and slide that inside there. I'm going to back it up a little bit. All right, got a good little bit there. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to just start sliding this down. And I'm going to use my stick here. All right, now I'm going to come back with some isopropyl alcohol. And we're going to clean this up really quick. And I'm just rotating that rod. It's kind of good idea to have it, you know, if you can have it where you can just have it up on your workstation and just spin it around. It kind of helps things out a little bit. All right, and then what I'm going to do is I'm just going to slide that down a little bit, and now we're going to start working right here. Now, of course, my reel seat's going to go over that, but I want to clean it up a little bit because I haven't had a chance to go in and rough that up in preparation for the reel seat install. So just kind of taking a look at my work here. All right, now I'm going to come back with a couple smaller pieces. I'm just using my fingers to get that shop towel in that paste area. And a little pro tip for you, if you haven't heard me say it before, hey, if you're not using them, you probably should, or anything other than white paper towels will be fine. But the great thing about shop towels don't leave pieces of fiber on your work like a white paper towel would if that's what you're using when you're cleaning up your rod build. So just food for thought. All right, so now what I'm going to do is we're going to go ahead and let this dry, and then the next portion of the install, we'll come back and then we'll add the reel seat. Okay guys, so now what we're going to do is we're going to prepare to install the reel seat and the basically trim ring that comes with the kit to make sure you have a smooth transition between the lower or rear handle and the reel seat. And so what I like to do is make sure that I leave a little extra room on the inside because as you can see, the way this is made, part of it is recessed on the inside that will receive on the reel seat. And then this larger area here, it's got some depth to it. It's going to have to slide all the way inside the rear handle. So you just have to make sure that you don't have any residual two-part paste inside there that's dried, or any arbor or anything like that that you built. So what I like to do is I'll go ahead and slide this on. So it'll just come all the way down to blank, and it'll pop right in on the inside. Now you can do this one of two ways. You can go ahead and put some paste on here, slide your trim ring in, build your arbors, and then also slide on your reel seat. But I like to do it, just install this first, let this set up for a while, for a few hours. It doesn't have to have a complete hard cure, but I like to let it set up for a few hours. So I know that it's in there nice and tight, and then I'll come back, I'll build the arbors, and then I'll go ahead and put on the reel seat. So what I want to do is I am going to put as much two-part paste. I've already made my paste. And what I'm going to do, basically slide it in there like that. And I try to go to the edge because, again, that trim ring will go to the edge. All right. Clean off the stick there for a second. And then what I like to do is just take the trim ring, and slide it in there, and then give the whole rod a turn. And that way that's going to help make sure that I have that seated in there really well. And now what I want to do is I'm going to come back with some isopropyl alcohol. And I'll actually clean up 2 parts of this, so even right in here. Set that down. Then anywhere that I might have touched and actually accidentally had paste on my finger, I'll clean that off. And that's really it. And then, like I said, I'll just let that set for a little bit. Again, I'm not looking to get a hard 24-hour cure on that. I'm just trying to make sure it's set up nice and dry. And then that way, when I go ahead and build my reel seats, or excuse me, build my arbors, and I can go ahead and slide my reel seat on there. So let's let this set up for a few hours, and we'll come back and we'll do the reel seat install. Okay, guys, so now what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and add in the reel seat. So the first thing I want to do, just going to make a mark, a rough guesstimate mark of where I want to rough up my blank. I'm going to go right about there. Again, I'm just using my 3M pad. Just take the shine out of that a little bit. Again, preparing my surface for adding the 2 pieces together. The next thing that I want to do on this reel seat that you see down here, I'm going to go ahead and take all of the extra stuff off. I have to attach this anyways, but I'm going to take all the ring, and I'm just going to go ahead and remove the locking nut in the hood and everything. And the reason why I'm doing that is because I don't want to have any of that on here while I'm adding that to the blank. All right. The next step that I want to do is I'm going to go ahead and identify where I'm adding my arbors. And I think we're going to go in a couple spots. I'm going to go here. And I think here. Just lay that tape down. And then what I want to do or like to do, once I have where I think I'm going to add the arbors, what I like to do is come on. I'm going to do like a quick dry fit with the reel seat. And the reason why is I want to slide that down and just make sure that the tape for that arbor that I'm installing doesn't stick out past this portion of it. I want it just a little bit underneath the edge of this reel seat. That way, once I put some thread and I put some finish in there, that can kind of fill in that part of that. Okay, so now the next thing I got to do is build up my arbors. And I want to be, cautious, aware of how big of arbors I got to have here. I've got the arbors built. You can see I've done a dry fit with the arbors. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to take my paste, my 2-part paste that I've already mixed up, and I'm going to apply it liberally to the arbors. I like to come down right in there, and I can always clean that out, of course, when I wipe it off. But I like to get that paste all next and all over and around the tape of the arbors on the sides and everything. Of course, in the middle. And then on the back side here, and we'll just kind of leave it for there at that point for right now. So now what I want to do is I'm going to go ahead and take the reel seat and I'm going to start spinning it on. And now what I have to be cautious about is in this gap right here that you see, as I'm sliding it on, it starts to fill up with paste. And what I don't want to have is too much paste that will ultimately trap air, which will make it harder for you to be able to get the reel seat to slide down all the way nice and neat. So I just wanted to remove some of that paste, but I still want enough to take up and fill in that crack. And then give that a good spin. And now all I'm doing is lining up the rod with my marks that I've made. Okay, so now that we have the reel seat on there, what I'm going to do is I want to apply the last, the bottom or rear handle or the butt or the split grip handle. I want to apply this to the bottom of the rod, which I've already reamed out. The first thing I want to do is I want to make sure I slide on my winding check first. Get that on there. The next thing I want to do is go ahead and get some Pro Paste or your 2-part epoxy, rod bond, whatever it is you're using. I'm going to add this to it pretty liberally again. And the idea here, you know, is when I slide this on, this will push a lot of this paste forward and it will slide over the insert. So the next part I want to do is go ahead and take my bottom portion of the split grip, spin it around. All right, now that I have that part on, I'm just going to slide that forward. You can see I have the butt sticking out, and then I want to bring it back. And I just want it to be flat or flush. I want to make sure I take the American Tackle logo and have it at the bottom. I like to just rotate that to where it's at the bottom. Then I'm going to come back with my 2-part paste. Again, I'm adding this to that part of the handle. And I want to go ahead and slide down my winding check. And I want to use the back end of my stick to slide that in there. Then I'm going to come back, take that excess paste off with my stick, move that to the side. Come back with some isopropyl alcohol. And then I just want to clean this up. And that's it. And I'm just cleaning up a couple spots where I got a little bit of paste at. Again, I'm making sure everything's lined up nice and neat. Everything looks good. The last thing I'll have to do is go and add the butt to that once it's completely 100% dry. Now, while that's drying, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and take the locking nut and I'm going to go ahead and attach these pieces here and get them squared away. So the first thing I want to do is go ahead and put my ring on. And then you have your sleeve, which is going to slide around, move around a little bit. And then you're going to have your flat metal portion that's going to come in and slide in on top of that. What I like to do is I like to put the paste, leave the ring down here, put the paste on this portion, slide the insert over that, and then slide this down inside of that glue portion, if you will. So here's what I'm saying. So I'll take my I'll take my paste and I'm going to go all over the locking nut. So I'm putting my paste all over the locking nut. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my insert sleeve, go over the top of that, spin that around. Make sure I get a good coating. I'm going to use my stick. And then I'm going to come back and take that excess off. And then I'm going to take my insert portion and slide that down through. All the way down. You'll hear the air escape. Give everything a nice little turn. Come back, squeeze it closed. I'll take some of my isopropyl alcohol and I'm going to come back and clean this up. And what I want to make sure I don't do, I want to be sure I don't get any of that paste in anything that moves or is supposed to move. We're just going to finish cleaning this up a little bit. Finish cleaning that up. And then that's it. So this part will still spin and turn around, right? And the reason why I really do that is if you look down inside there, you see those threads, right? And I found, and I guess we'll call it a pro tip, but I found when you add the insert portion, or what I'm calling the insert, this 3K carbon fiber matte sleeve over the top, and then you slide the trim ring portion in between that and the locking nut hood. Once you slide that down in there, that ensures that the paste doesn't double back on you and get down on your threads, which you'll ultimately end up having to have to clean if you got paste on there, because those are going to lock down onto your reel seat. So I'm just going to let this go. I'm probably going to clean this up a little bit more. and then take and put a piece of tape over the top of it and just hold it down until it's nice and dry. Okay, guys, so the locking nut, as you see here, is all dry, good to go. So what I'm going to do is we're going to go ahead and install this on the blank. So line it up. Basically make sure that my hood stays right up at the top, and then just start turning it and locking it down. Then of course I'll take this off once I start to add my thread work and everything, but just so we all know what this looks like. And then the last thing that I'm going to do is add the butt to the bottom of this blank, and it's got basically 3 parts. It just comes with your the flat butt disc portion of it, if you will. Which slides into kind of a rubber gasket, which also slides into a trim ring, and then that trim ring and everything will fit nice and neat down here on the bottom like that. So the first thing I need to do is go ahead and mix up some Pro Paste. Okay, so now we have the Pro Paste mixed up. And then what I'm going to do is take all 3 pieces apart, and I'm just going to install them kind of in order, if you will. So I'm just going to put some paste which will set up for the trim ring. And so once I have that in there, I'll just go ahead and insert my trim ring. And then what I want to do is I'm going to come back and do the same thing with my rubber portion of the butt. And I'm just going to work a little bit of paste around the gasket portion of that. And then slide that in there. Clean that up just a little bit. I'm just going to set that on here for a second. Get some isopropyl alcohol. And then what I want to do is just a little bit on the threaded portion of the butt here, little butt plate. And I'm just doing it to the threaded portion. And it's really not threaded. It looks threaded, but what it is, it's grooved. So it'll be able to, you know, have a better hold once you're finished, or once your 2-part paste dries. And now I'm going to take that and insert that into back of the butt all the way. And then I'm going to just start cleaning up. And then that's it. So, you know, as you can see, I've got the entire handle installed and then placed on there. And then now what I'll do is I'm just going to set this aside. I'm going to let that butt go ahead and dry up to a good hard cure. And then it'll be ready for me to go ahead and, do my thread work on add the guides. So, again, hey, I hope this video helps. I hope you found it very useful. If you did, please hit the like button and feel free to share it with somebody that you think that might find it of value. And if you're not subscribed to the channel, go ahead and hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications for when I release my new videos every Monday and Thursday. So thanks again, guys. Until next time, make sure you guys watch this video here, and I'll talk to you guys later. Bye.